We are here on a Wednesday after the Super Bowl on the Where Eagles Dare podcast. Yes, the Eagles were not in the Super Bowl. We know this. Doesn't mean we stop being football fans because our team goes down. We're carrying through. We're waving the flag all the way through to the end of the Super Bowl, and it was a good Super Bowl. So thanks for joining us on the Where Eagles Dare podcast with Lee and Tubby. If you're listening to us on one of the many podcast providers that we're on, thank you. Whether it's Spotify, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Castro. If we're not on the one you want and you're watching us on the live stream, say on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, just let us know at our email address at lee.bird, that's byrd.eaglesdare@gmail.com, and we will try to get on the podcast provider you use. I mean, if you're like a Spotify fan, but you don't like Joe Rogan and you're switching to another one, just let us know. Or if you are a Joe Rogan, we don't care. If you like Joe Rogan, you want us to stay on Spotify. We won't pull off ours because I don't listen to Joe Rogan. I have nothing against the man. I didn't mean to go down this road because it can only lead to trouble. When you start getting political, it can only lead to trouble. So let's just stop the Rogan talk right there.
How about that Super Bowl, huh?
Yes. Let's move right into that. Hey, Tubby, how's it going? Yeah, I tell you what, this was one of the best years of playoff football that I think I can ever remember.
Yeah. And
it's just, the Los Angeles Rams come out as Super Bowl champions when all is said and done. Maybe not the best result for me. I mean, I've talked about it all year. I mean, they pretty much bought a bunch of mercenaries to win a championship. Don't begrudge them. I don't begrudge them. But, I would love it if the Eagles did what they did. You want to go out and get you a bunch of Pro Bowl players and put together a championship season? I'm all for that. If you can work it in with the salary cap, and that's what they did. So it worked. The first time they did it when they had Jared Goff, it didn't work out so well. They scored 6 points in that first Super Bowl against the Patriots. But here they come back again against a much weaker team, and they were kind of in a dogfight for this game. I mean, it looked for a while like the outcome was in doubt, and maybe the Bengals were going to steal another one. What were you what was going through your head watching this game? It was insane, up and down.
I mean, I thought it was very fitting for Odell to catch the first touchdown. I just, big players normally show up in big games.
Yeah.
As Cooper Kupp did down the stretch. But I thought it was fitting, man, that Odell got the first touchdown. I was like, okay, here we go. And then, Bengals hung in there. It was a couple calls here and there. You could argue it was pass interference.
On which one?
On T. Higgins.
When
they grabbed on Ramsey.
Yeah.
I think it was Ramsey. He kind of grabs Higgins by the waist a little bit and knocks the ball down that key third down.
Oh, you're talking about when Ramsey should have gotten called for pass interference.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
I think that was like
Higgins repaid the favor in the second half, so that was it all worked out.
No doubt. But just going through the game and the motions, I'm like, okay. And then, then all of a sudden, it's just once OBJ went down, it seemed like the momentum changed a little bit. But at the time, Burrow wasn't getting sacked as much in that first half. The second half, man, it was just, I think that's what really hurt him. But man, for the most part of the game, though, absolutely, man, I thought the Bengals were going to win it. I was after a while, I was like, man, everything's just going in their favor. The refs were letting them play. And I think that plays better to the team without the superstars. You just letting them play shit. Because then you have, corners like Eli Apple that can just get away with anything.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Eli today for sure. Sure.
Man. I definitely thought the Bengals were going to win that.
Joe Shiesty came out ready to go. I mean, look at the swag coming in there with that kind of attitude. When the guys show up at the game like this, they're not thinking, they're not nervous. He's chill. He's ready to go. I watched Inside the NFL today, and what cracked me up was how many people that he talked to on the Rams. So they had the NFL, cameras on and the mics on, but he's going up to Von Miller, going, man, I love watching you play, blah blah blah. They're all giving much respect. Went over to Eric Weddle, talking about, man, I love your career, and Eric Weddle's like, man, I like the way you play because you're no BS. You're all ball, all that.
Mhm.
And he kept going to Von Miller and Eric Weddle. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mhm. Yeah.
The young man. So it's kind of, both these quarterbacks were really likable, but yeah, Joe Shiesty, Burrow was just, I don't know. I really was kind of hoping they would win. There was a lot to discuss about what went right and what went wrong for the Bengals. Like you said, the game itself, it was almost a tale of two halves, and then a tale of a final 5 minutes, because at first it seemed like the Rams could do no wrong. I honestly, I thought Odell was going to run away with it, especially that first touchdown pass, which was a great throw from Stafford. It was one of their better corners, Mike Hilton, not Apple, covering Beckham, and he had his hands in between Beckham's hands and was trying to pull it loose, and Beckham did not let that go, and Stafford threw it right where it needed to be. After it was over, I saw on the sidelines, because again I was watching Inside the NFL, where Odell Beckham looked at Stafford and he goes, "Why aren't you wearing number 10?" And then Stafford's like, "What?" He goes, "Why aren't you wearing number 10? Because you always be dropping them dimes."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's good."
Did you hear what he said before that? When
No.
Stafford goes, "That was the pass." He says, Eli throws it better. Eli would have threw it a little better.
I didn't see that.
And that's when he walks back and he says, "You should be wearing number 10 there."
Yeah,
Drop
it was
the
good
dimes.
stuff.
But I just like how even in the Super Bowl, how he could just bring up Eli. He didn't bring up Baker Mayfield.
No,
bring up Baker.
No,
How do you go straight? You don't go to your recent quarterback. You go back to Eli.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, shout out to Eli, the only person that can make Tom Brady feel uncomfortable.
That and Nick Foles. That's
but two. I mean,
two of them. Yeah, two
of them. He still has
yeah.
two. He's the only person I believe they're at a dinner party. He does not want his placard sitting next to Eli Manning and Tom Brady. That would just ruin. Tom Brady wouldn't even eat that night. He'll be drinking avocado tequila all night.
You know what, you might say, well, it's Tom Brady. He doesn't care. But yeah, he does. So those ones, the ones he lost, I think he remembers more than the ones he won. And I honestly believe, speaking of Nick Foles, I believe that year that they lost to the Saints, when Brandon Brooks went out and Jeffrey drops the pass on the final drive that could have won the game for the Eagles, I think if they win that game, they could have beat the Rams that year and then would have had a rematch against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And that would have been, we'll never have it, but it would have been great fun. I think it would have been awesome. But for this game, yeah, Odell was lighting it up. I mean, he was looking to be the best player on the field. Kupp had a good couple of receptions on that drive, so they were looking really good. Up 13-3, cruising, and then yeah, I mean, right before the half, the turf injury, and it's got to make you go. I mean, gosh, can we please get rid of turf in the NFL? We are at an age now where you have these dome stadiums that we can open and close. I mean, they're doing it in Arizona where they keep the field out in the sunlight and then they bring it in and all that stuff. I'm just tired of turf, man, when seeing these guys getting hurt with no contact injuries. And Odell's up there in years. He can't afford too many more of these types of injuries, man. It's crazy.
Now, it sucks for him being a free agent, because I think he's a free agent after this year, after the season. And
yeah.
Well, he's a free agent now. Season's over. He's a free agent now. And you're on an ACL injury, so he'll probably get picked up sometime in November.
Yeah,
they'll see how he rehabs, because two ACL injuries to the same knee. I'm no doctor, but I think it has to be some scarring that's going to be there. Additional scarring. He bounced back from this one pretty quick, but was it one of those situations where he may have not? He shouldn't have come back so easily. So maybe he wasn't fully healed. Maybe if he didn't play for the Browns this year and he only played for the Rams, maybe he would have been a little healthier. Because you can kind of see when he comes out of his break, sometimes he's not the same Odell. I'm not saying he's belabored, but he won't come out as sharp. He'll come out like, okay, I don't want to twist too hard on this knee, because it's the same turf that he plays on. This is home stadium that he's playing in, by the way.
Yep.
So if he has a problem with it, and he's still with the Rams next year, I wouldn't see, maybe the Rams will pick him back up. Robert Woods coming back. And that's still a nice trio, and with Van Jefferson to hold it down until either of those guys get back healthy.
They,
So
they
anyway, I feel
they
you
could
on
they
the
could
turf.
probably get him for a song because of the injury. I mean, seriously, I think anybody can probably right now he's going to be on the bargain basement list, and I think Odell probably is going to know that because of his age and now this multiple injury. So I mean, we'll see. But let's back up to the Bengals in that first half before they got it going. And I don't get one of the things that I when I looked back at the tape, I watched it multiple times now, and at first the night of the Super Bowl. I thought that it was a decently coached game, but having watched it several times, I think that Zach Taylor was in way over his head, and he really needs to start watching some game film of some quality head coaches. And I've talked to some Bengals fans who feel the same way. They're very upset with the way that Taylor coached the game. And
Really?
one of the things was that fourth down play on your first drive on the 49-yard line. I mean, you're given the ball basically if you don't get it, you're giving the ball to the Rams in quality scoring position when your defense has been holding them. Why would you not just punt the ball there? It's again, we've talked about it this year. This is a league where everybody's doing that now. Everybody's going to fourth down no matter where they're at on the field. And I'm not about it. I'm not loving these constant going for it on fourth downs when you got to at least trust your defense instead of being so panicked. And you played right into the Rams' hands. And one of the things that I did notice, if you look it back, and I'm going to show some pictures of it, is Aaron Donald was actually offsides, way offsides on that fourth down call. His helmet was in the across the line of scrimmage almost completely. His neck was almost in the Cincinnati backfield. It was crazy. And it's not just the angle of the pitchers, but they missed it. Refs missed it. Like you said, they let him play. It was a bad play call. I'm not a big fan of Samaje Perine. I said it during the playoffs. I think you got a quality guy in Mixon. I prefer even Chris Evans, the rookie out of Michigan, out there than Perine because he seems to constantly, like in the Chiefs game, he didn't line up properly. He's having these issues of where he's supposed to be, not knowing the playbook. In the Tennessee game, he doesn't secure the ball in his hands, and it goes right through his hands and causes an interception. Granted, he had the screenplay that got him a touchdown against the Chiefs, but I'm not a big fan of his, and I thought that Taylor put him out there way too much when Mixon was actually running the ball well. Mixon had 7 carries and 40-some yards in the first half, and then they all of a sudden started handing the ball to Perine. So it was a really kind of baffling set of play calls because, like you said, in the first half, the pass rush wasn't getting to Burrow, but then they started to move Aaron Donald around within the line of scrimmage, and then they started bringing heat. They started bringing blitzes, and once they started that in the second half, I think after the Bengals got up, they got up the 7 points. It was 20-13. Then they didn't score another point. And that was all due to the Rams, constant pressure in that second half that the Bengals just didn't adjust with. They kept trying to do the same old things. You got a back that was running the ball. He had 7 carries for 46 yards, I think, in the first half, and he ends up with 15 carries total for the game.
Sure.
And he had 72 yards, a 4.8 yard per carry average. You're up 10 and you're not running the ball with Mixon. That's another thing. You just kept trying to throw downfield, and the Rams have one of the best pass rushes in the league. You should be running the ball more, and not with Perine, but with Mixon, who was really running the ball well. But you give him 15 carries. For a minute, I thought Nick Sirianni was out there coaching, is what it really was. What it boiled down to, because it was the going for it on fourth down. It was the constant, trying to throw downfield instead of trying to disguise your plays. I didn't see any play action. I saw a lot of the passes to the running back out of the backfield, which didn't work once. No. He threw to Perine, he threw to Evans, he threw to Mixon, and every single time Burrow threw to him, there was a guy standing right there ready, waiting to tackle him. All right, why don't you just rip that out of the playbook, Zach Taylor? Why do you keep going back to that? You're wasting downs when you should be running screens. We talked about it in the preview. Running screens, running slants to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and let the Rams back off of you. Instead, they just invited the Rams to continue to kill their quarterback. So it was a weird coaching situation. I don't blame it totally on Zach Taylor because they only lost by 3. But the collapse he has a lot to do with, I think, in my mind. What do you think?
Yeah, man. When you're going into the second half, it's only a 3-point game. So not T Higgins. Mixon throws the touchdown. I had him down as my MVP, and I go, "Oh, here we go. This could be it." I mean, if you throw one and you run one in,
yeah.
And the way he was running the ball in the second half, I mean, up until T Higgins got his second touchdown, I was like, okay, it's going to be Higgins or Burrows. But from the start, it looked like if they were going to win, it could be Mixon. But then you're right, they just stopped giving them the ball.
Yeah.
But you only go down 13-10. It's 3-point game. And I thought that really favored the Bengals. I was like, man, you only down 3. After all of this happens, now you're looking at that missed extra point from the Rams, and you're like, man, this is huge, not having that single point. And then you have that infamous play to T. Higgins and Ramsey, man, because it was such a bad call. It was such a bad no call. When you really look at it, replay, you go, you expect, this is supposed to be the most accurate officiating crew in the NFL. Those are typically the guys that get the Super Bowl. They don't just give people the Super Bowl. You have to make the playoffs. Refs make the playoffs as well. They look at your crew. They look at how accurate your crew was. They all get a grade. Or they all get after every game. They all get something from the NFL. Hey, you missed this. Hey, you missed that.
Right.
So to even be in the playoffs, you're supposed to be a good crew in general. To miss that face mask, it was pretty obvious if you're on the field. And the ball is so deep downfield that you have at least a back judge and a side judge that should be able to see that pretty easily. But you go from a 13-10 game to all of a sudden it's 17-13 and Odell's going. So you're like, wait a minute. How are the Rams going to get back in this game? And then they do what I don't know why it keeps happening, man. They go away from Cooper Kupp for quite a while. They just were not really giving Cooper Kupp the ball. I had money on the Bengals, but I'm like, man, how do you not go to Cooper Kupp in some of your biggest situations? I just thought they went to, just random guys all of a sudden in the big situations. And I thought how they got Cooper Kupp going was on that one end around play on fourth down, I believe it was. Third or fourth down. It was huge. Whatever. It was fourth down.
Right. Yeah.
They got him the ball. I think the Rams had a few drives here and there, but it was nothing really going. And I think what got him going was that Cooper Kupp end around. And he goes for the fourth down, and it's just like, look, man, you could actually. So I'm like, look, in these moments, you're just going to have to live with going to Cooper Kupp in this moment. And Stafford throws that no-look pass. A pass I didn't see was a no-look, live, or even the replays didn't really, even the announcers. I don't think Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth even picked that up either.
Well, let's take a look at it because believe it or not, I got it right here on the video. So let's take a look. Yeah, it's insane. It was a really good pass.
On a dime.
It was a Magic Johnson, no
it was incredible.
pass. It was beautiful.
It was incredible. It was incredible. It was very it was incredible. The guy that's in that shot that I thought, played a really good game, man. If he's available, we need to pick him up. But Wilson.
Oh, Logan Wilson.
Bengals. He had a hell of a game.
He was all over the field. Very intense linebacker. And he was really setting the difference for that Bengals because, like you said, in the first half, the Bengals defense played surprisingly well, and I think that my problem with the first half was the Bengals, were only down 13-10 going into that half, but they could actually had more points than they did, and it was just a matter of having to settle for a field goal when they got, they ended up. Getting the ball, good field position. They got the ball to Jamar Chase down the field and then had to settle for 3. And it was a lot of it was the play calling around the end zone. Granted, they throw to T. Higgins and Jalen Ramsey has him blanket covered. But again, they tried these little swing passes out to the running back, and neither one worked on first and second down that put them in a bad position where they had to settle for a field goal. And so when they're settling for field goals like that, it's going to come back and hurt you in the end. And I think that they were getting the benefit of some really great playmaking on their defense, and they weren't taking advantage. Well, another one is right there before the end of the half. So what I thought really happened with Cooper Kupp was that when Odell Beckham went down, the Bengals started playing man defense, and they were blanketing Cooper Kupp for a while. It wasn't until near the end of the game that they started playing that soft zone, and then I thought our good boy out there, Jonathan Gannon, was coaching the defense for the Bengals the last 5 minutes because everybody was 10 yards off the ball. Again, I had never understand it. Bengals have been playing great defense on Stafford the whole second half, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, you're going to play zone, and then you're just asking Stafford to pick you apart with Cooper Kupp. Because I think that was a big difference. I think when Odell went out, Cooper Kupp's receptions dried up because they were blanketing him. But then that last drive, they decided, all right, you know what? Since we're up by 4, let's just back off and let's just keep them from getting a touchdown. And the Rams come right down the field in a heartbeat. But even before that, though, at the end of the first half, they get that beautiful interception by the one guy. I can't remember his name, but the safety in the end zone makes a great play. And then this happens, which I don't. Again, Vernon Hargreaves comes running onto the field.
Bates to me, the third.
Yeah.
Bates, it's that
dude,
interception.
Yeah, that's it. Bates the third, and then Hargreaves comes out, and I've never seen this in a game of this magnitude.
Unbelievable. And
this guy should be cut right now. Now I know it led to a 15-yard penalty because the Bengals would have had the ball with 2 minutes left in the half on the 25. They actually got a first down, so they'd have been near midfield without that penalty. But this guy had to make it about himself, and this is the thing. You hurt your team right here. I know it didn't really hurt the Bengals that badly, but you don't know what would happen if they start that drive on the 25 instead of the 10. So congratulations, dude. You're an ass munch, and these were the kind of things though for the Bengals that was it was the Eagles. We were watching the Eagles out there. It was these cataclysmic events that were just little things at a time that just kept building up, where they just kept, I'm jumping around a little bit, but the personal foul there where they got when it was fourth down, and then he gives them an extra 15, backs them up another 15 yards to give the Rams great field position. It's like you can't keep making these type of mistakes and expect to win. There's so many crazy things. But back to your thing about the T. Higgins, a lot of people are saying because the Rams got the benefit of that last touchdown with a few dubious calls, but the Bengals got the T. Higgins call, so it kind of evens out. That was a pretty slick. I don't think T was trying to grab his face mask. I think he was just trying to move Ramsey out of the way because the ball was underthrown, and Ramsey didn't know that. Ramsey was with him step by step, and he just grabs, and it was really quick. It was a nice little yank, and it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And if you see it at full speed, I think it's harder to catch, but it was a clear face mask because his head gets yanked. And it was a great catch. He runs it down for the field. But after that, and then Stafford throws his second pick of the game, which we talked about Stafford throwing picks. And now all of a sudden, again, another opportunity. Bengals had opportunity there to go up and score another touchdown. Instead, had to settle for a field goal to make it 20-13. If they're up 24 to 13, we're talking a different ball game.
Right.
And yet they had to settle for another field goal after that second turnover. Then it was kind of over for them. It was kind of over for them.
During that stretch, man, you go interception, punt, interception. For the Rams. So you have to capitalize off it, man. But then the sacks start to come in. Another 8 sacks. I think he took 8 or 9. Was 9
it was
game winner or 8 for the game winner?
I thought it was 7. I thought it was 7, but yeah. It was brutal. It was this line, this thing is like the thing about the line we've said.
Yeah, he was sacked 7 times for 43. Oh, that's right. The last one
was 8.
I'm counting the last one as a sack.
Right. Because he threw the ball incomplete. That would have been.
So they threw it incomplete. So I was looking at that as like, oh, that's the 8th sack, but he did get the ball away.
Yeah, he got the ball.
He tried to throw it to P. Ryan.
Here's Yeezy with his take on it. Get Joe Burrow an offensive line. That's what Yeezy has to say. I mean,
it was definitely a mixed bag. You can tell he got happy feet after a while because there were players open. I remember the play where Mixon comes up, cuts the guy, and Burrow still doesn't get rid of the ball. And there's 2 guys right in front of him.
Right.
The pocket was closing in. I mean, you're going against an elite line with the Rams. But there were still plays to be made. And any quarterback that gets sacked 8 times, most of the time you say he can't read a defense. You know, that's would be the consensus. You know, he doesn't have the best line, but you get sacked 8 times. Ugh.
Nah,
You
this to
know,
me.
I mean, I looked at his stats. He was getting rid of the ball 2.4, which was like probably his quickest of the season, and it shows by the talent they were going against. But you know, you leave there with a QBR of 39. Like, man, you know, 7 sacks, 43 yards. You know, you just have to make a play in a lot of those instances, man. The run game, because the run game kind of got going in the second half. You know, Mixon leading with 72 yards. That was crazy.
But that was the problem. They only gave him the ball 7 times in the second half, or 8 times in the second half. He had 7 in the
but
first.
That was when he was having his most success as well.
Yeah,
you know,
and
during
that
second half. Yeah, and they didn't, but at least they was having some type of balance, and that goes to where, you know, not getting the more play actions done. But 7 sacks, man, you know, Burrow has to clean that up. I know, you know, because they didn't have because they put a lot of pressure up front. Like I said, I seen guys open. That's just something he's going to have to learn. You know, 7 sacks coming off of 8. How many he's taken this? About 15, 16 in 3 games.
Yeah, well, it's been the whole playoffs. He's been on his back. To me, I give it more against the offensive line. And they've had some injuries as well as they decided to invest in Jamar Chase rather than getting the top offensive lineman in the draft. It happens, and they picked it, and it was the right pick. You got to say that if they go into the draft this year and they build up that offensive line, he'll do better. But I think a lot of it was what I saw was just him taking those drops and then Donald just being there. He was just there. And Floyd and Miller, it just there. And it was really bad for the offensive line. They were giving him no time. And my thing was there was some open receivers here and there, but I don't think the play calling was to his favor. They're sending receivers too deep, and they're not running shorter routes to get, you know, we saw Tyler Boyd only a couple times there. Didn't even see anything to the tight end Uzama, who was back in this game, and it was like, what the heck are you doing? And again, you're getting hit so much, and this is when I got the Nick Sirianni flashbacks, where you're getting hit so much, it's 7 times, and it was pressure almost every play. You're not leaving a tight end there. You're not having your running back chip block. You're saying we're going to do our thing. I hate when a coach does that. We're not going to adapt to what the defense is doing to us. We're just going to keep trying to impose our will when your will isn't good enough. What you're trying to do isn't working, so you need to adapt. What the Rams did on the other side was that they noticed that Donald was getting double teamed in the first half. They come out second half, they're moving Donald all over the field. If you looked at the play call once, I was watching it today on, I watched 3 different recap shows. Aaron Donald is almost 5 yards away from the outside right tackle. He's lined up he's almost near the sideline. It's crazy. He's lined up like he would have been a wide receiver if he would have been on offense. He's wide out, and he's attacking and you can't tell which way he's going to come from. So it made a big difference, I think.
I wonder if they're letting Burrow audible, because you can hot route receivers. You can quick slant. You know, Brady gets. I know I'm comparing Brady, but Brady gets rid of the ball faster than anybody in the league. You know, no matter who he's playing against, he still gets rid of the ball very quickly.
Yeah.
And regardless of who's his line, I just think I think it's a mixture of him being a young quarterback. Because I mean, 7 sacks is too much. It's too many sacks. I can't just put that on the line, because then if you build the line up, you just don't want to have what's Derek Carr's older brother.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that played for the Texans.
Played for the Texans.
David
Carr.
But that line nearly that killed his career.
But even as they built the line every year is the point I'm making. So you have the first year and they set a record. Then you start building the line, and he's still getting sacked a lot. You keep building the line. They're literally just getting lineman after lineman, and he's still getting sacked. That's all I'm saying is that 16 sacks over a 3-game period. That's a lot, man. That's it comes down to, can you read a defense? You can't just throw it out the window because it doesn't fit a certain narrative. It's kind of like, hey, can you read it? Because you're getting sacked 7 times. That means you're holding the ball. You don't know what to do with it, so you're collapsing, or because he didn't really try to run that much, and he does. No. He is mobile. He's way more mobile. I understand it's collapsing. You got Von Miller. coming from the outside. But that's where you have to get those hot routes done, or maybe go into the shotgun. If you're getting pressured that much, go to the shotgun. Gives you a couple more seconds, boom, or maybe go to like a pistol where it's not always. If you're still not being able to get those 3 to 5 step drops, and if you're getting a hit after 3, then you have to go to that shotgun. So you had the receiving core. I know Boyd had a really big drop on the third down. That was huge. Yeah. They went to him kind of, throughout the game. They'll kind of, it's like they had receivers for certain things. Like Boyd was when they wanted to kind of go short, Chase down long right side, Higgins long left side, and they would run Higgins on the post as well too. But there were so many shots, man. They were guys open, and you're just eating the ball. I don't know if it comes from after getting hit, because, you only got sacked, I think, twice in the first half, and it was all good, but 5 in that second half. So somebody wasn't making the proper adjustments, because, you weren't on your back the first half. That means something was working. It's the same guy. So whatever the Rams did, the Bengals didn't do. And that's all I'm really speaking to is like, you have to make those adjustments. If you're not going to run Nixon, you have to complete the passes, man. At the end of the day, you took a sack to lose the Super Bowl. That's on you. It's on the quarterback. You have to make a play, because if you make the play, you're goated, So if you don't make that play, you have to get the opposite of that as well too. So that's all I'm saying. You don't want to take a sack to lose the Super Bowl. You have to get rid of the ball. You damn sure don't want to go to Samaje Perine for the end of the game. You just have to go, look, I'm going to take a 3-step drop, or I'm going to shotgun. T. Higgins, come on, baby. Get open over the post. Yeah. Boom. Let it go. I'm not saying you can go to your second and third, check down. No. But you have to be able to hit at least your first guy. And that's all I'm saying. In any offense, you should be able to hit your first guy. Your second, third read, that's where your line comes in. But you should be able to make your first read on any play. And it's hard to lose a Super Bowl with the ball in your hand like that. Man. That's
I'm with you. And that's why what I said in the second half, I think that the adjustment that the Rams made by moving Aaron Donald around made a big impact, and the Bengals did not counter that. They didn't leave anybody to try to give him a little bit of extra time. And it's not all on the offensive line, but this offensive line is pretty bad. It's one of the worst that we've ever seen to get into the Super Bowl. And they've been able to survive this long because of the dynamic play that the total of the offense has. But when you got stuff like this happening to you, and people are Googling how to donate my legs on Google because Burrow gets, and from what I understand, after this hit, he didn't re-injure his knee that he had already had the MCL ACL thing. He sprained his knee, and he played with a sprained knee the rest of the game in the second half, which limits his mobility. Again, that hurts when, like in the Chiefs game, when he could take off running away from the pressure, it would make a difference. But in this game, it did not. One of the other things that cracked me up about the game that I do have to point out, because we'll talk about the ending here in a minute, but one of the things that made me laugh was the Rams' attempt in the second half to run a Philly special, which I thought was amazing. And I love this meme came out almost immediately. And it's got Nick Foles watching the LA Rams failed attempt at the Philly special. Pathetic. And it was great. I love that they didn't get it done, because you can't steal our thunder, baby. That's our play. Now, the Mixon play was a halfback pass. It's not the same thing. Right. But what they tried was Kupp getting the ball in the reverse and then throwing down the field to the quarterback, and he way overthrew it. So, it was that was a horrible attempt.
They executed it well up into the pass. Obviously, you didn't execute it that well. But, that whoever threw that pass was way off. They could have got a way better person. We had the perfect setup for that, man. We had guys that had played quarterback.
Yes.
Because Burton had played quarterback.
Clement gets the handoff to Burton to Foles. It was a brilliant thing.
Didn't Edelman throw it to Brady, and Brady dropped it? And Edelman's like a former quarterback as well, too. So they had it designed right, quarterback to quarterback.
Right.
I don't even remember who threw it for the Rams, but
it was Kupp. It was Kupp.
Oh, that was Kupp?
It was Kupp, and he way overthrew it. Yeah, it was bad.
Damn, that was Kupp through that. Wow.
Yeah. Another big thing about the game itself that we were kind of disappointed at in the moment, because all of it, when you're watching the game, there's so much happening and you're just taking it all in. And the big thing for me at the end was what I thought initially was I was kind of blaming the loss on was the officiating. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. And this is just what we talked about. This is the Super Bowl refs. These are the people that have earned their place there. And then you got like on this meme here, which is just the refs need to start being fined. I don't know if I agree with that, but they need to be held accountable. You got the Aaron Donald way over the line of scrimmage here, a pass interference called on the Rams. 'Cause this is on both sides. That was called pass interference when it wasn't. The face mask here you've got on T. Higgins. Another pass interference called on the Bengals. It wasn't. Both tackles false start near the goal line at the end of the game and no call. And then, of course, this one, the Logan Wilson on Cooper Kupp on third down, or it would have been 4th and 10. That one was, I'm sorry, that was not defensive holding. He had his hand on his hip, but he never once grabs him. Now, the one after that where Eli Apple went to grab him, that one was definitely holding. Eli Apple was atrocious, but I'll go get to him in a second. But one of the things that was really upsetting was the fact that, okay, officials, you want to not let the game be determined by penalties. Great. You're going to let them play. Great. Why don't you let them play for all 4 quarters? I get tired when the NFL does this and they say that they're going to let them play, and then it gets down to the end of a game and you get that ticky-tack call on Logan Wilson on the 3rd and 10 that would have made it 4th and 10 and much harder for the Rams to win that game. Instead, you give them the holding call, and then you get the next one. It was the offsetting penalties. It was all of a sudden, boom, flag, right at the end of the game. It really was, as a fan, when you were so happy not to see a lot of flags, it was deflating for it to end that way. Granted, Cooper Kupp makes a great catch in the end zone, and they win. It was a good play. It was, at least they didn't like bang it in from the 1, which would have been even more just like really give them the ball 1st and goal from the 1. At least it was a pass. And then of course, like we talked about, it had the Burrow getting sacked at the end, or we're almost getting sacked, throwing the ball away. Yeah. But it was, at that point it was like, man, why did the refs have to get involved like that?
I thought it was. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, at the end of the day, having watched it now and reanalyzed it, I realized there was so many more things than just the refs that affected that for the Bengals. Because, again, you had the T. Higgins given the benefit of 7, and you had the bad coaching decisions that could have been better. You had the offensive line. You had a lot of things that led to them. So it wasn't just the officiating, but I do have to show this one meme real quick because this one cracked me up. Because it's got all these boys from Cincinnati complaining about the officials. Well, the NFL just lost a fan today. I love how the fact that they all have the goatees, they all have the white framed sunglasses. Because here's the thing: if you've lived here, you lived in Dayton and Cincinnati, you know that standard issue for the white boys down in Cincinnati and Ohio.
Standard issue.
And that and the barbed wire tattoo, man. I'm telling you what, it's standard issue.
Oh, man.
And the Oakley hat. Oh, I love it. And so, yeah, that would crack me up when I saw that. I was like, yeah, that's probably how they're feeling right now. Like they've been a little robbed, but it is what it is.
I think when it comes to Kupp, man, I thought Kupp got the star treatment, man. Stars get calls late in the games, man. You're looking at the offensive MVP here. Should have been the league MVP, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. I don't see how Rodgers pulled it off. Yeah. And Cooper Kupp didn't really get that many first place votes at all, actually, which was, I don't know. They have to revisit that. It was a little bit weird for me. But I think, man, trust me, I'm sitting here telling Ish, I'm like, look, just throw the ball to Cooper Kupp. You can mark my words. He could. Every play. I said, just throw it to him. It doesn't matter. Just throw him the ball. Stars get called because Cooper Kupp is such a great route runner. He makes it very difficult on the receivers where they start to grab. And the one thing that they look for in the NFL is the turning. So when your hands on your hips, they're telling me that you're turning him. You're turning, Now was it a light call? It was a light call. I seen Mike Pierre's explanation of it. I thought it was a close call. I didn't think it was a no call. I would have been okay. I think based off how the game was going, it should have been a no call. Mm-hmm. But when it's Cooper Kupp, man, I'm just one of those guys that believe that stars get calls in big moments.
Yeah.
And it was proof positive all the way down the field, man. Every time Kupp, I think, didn't catch the ball, it was a penalty.
Yeah, something like that.
Something to give him the ball back.
Yeah.
And because that's what happens in big moments, man. In basketball, they get the foul call. Jordan's going to get the foul call at the end. If you even breathe on him, the refs are going to make that call because it's Jordan. Cooper Kupp was having such an amazing year, 145 catches, 16 touchdowns. I don't remember how many yards, but I think like 1,600 yards. He's going to get that. And he makes the defense nervous where they are grabbing him. They are grabbing him in some. Now, Apple was the most egregious grab because you can really see that very blatant.
Oh, yeah, it was huge.
They, Eric Wilson did kind of hold him up a little bit. Like, it wasn't like he didn't do anything. There was something there, but it wasn't enough to get the call based off the game, how the game was going. So, man, I just think that's one of the moments where stars gets calls. Aaron Donald, you may look at it from that other angle as well too. They're not going to call Donald on that play for some odd reasons. These refs can see exactly who that is lining up over the ball. They can see. You're right there. The can, you have two line judges.
Yeah, I agree.
And for Donald not to get that, and I know if you're a Chiefs fan, that's why. Remember the Chiefs lost that game against was it the Jaguars or the Patriots?
Are you talking about this season, Patriots. Regular season?
No, I think it was a few seasons back where 55 lined up just in an offside position. They were about to win the game, and he just
I remember that.
Offsides.
I remember who that was against. But I remember that. Yeah,
I think it was like AFC Championship game.
Right.
And he just simply lines up offsides. It made no sense.
Inexplicable.
And then Patriots get the first down, and then all of a sudden they win the game, and everybody looks at like, did we really just come down to the guy just lining up wrong? Like the refs couldn't swallow the whistle for that one play. These are all the things you hear. So yeah, man, I do. The refs, they did pick a bad time to start throwing as many flags as they did. I did think that was a little suspect. If you're going to let them play, just let them play because there were a lot of calls throughout the game that could have been called. The T. Higgins one, that that you showed with Ramsey, pulling on the shirt, man, that's a touchdown there. If you to get the ball back or you get it right there on the one, Mixon or Burrow sneaks it in. That's a difference in the game, big difference in the game. I go back to the extra point, how Decker just mishandles the ball, some Tony Romo type stuff.
Oh, right.
Like you just completely. That's how it's just nerves at that point, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, man. He can do that in his sleep. He could probably literally close his eyes, put his hands out in the center. The long snapper can put it right there. He can put that ball down, laces out, easy money. But it's something about those big moments, man, where they just change a lot of the outcomes. And that extra point came up big towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that happens to the refs too. I mean, it's a situation of a referee. You don't want to see the game lost because a guy's holding, but you've been swallowing the whistle all game, so you really got to be conscious. Now, the Apple one, it was definitely holding, and he deserved it. And if that would have happened on fourth down, had they not called the Logan Wilson one, I wouldn't have been upset because Eli Apple is trash. And that's why I'm going to show you this meme here real quick. The NFL is really the league of opportunities. They have the first openly gay NFL player, first female head coach, and the first blind NFL player in Eli Apple. And that's why I love this right here. This guy, he talks so much trash, and he's complete trash. Every single game, he gets burned, and I don't think we'll see him in a Bengals jersey next year because he was a liability on the field. Bell was playing good. Awuzie was playing good. Hilton was playing good, and I don't understand, again, coaching, why Eli Apple is on Cooper Kupp in those situations twice, where he holds him, and then on the touchdown play, where if you watch that touchdown play, Cooper Kupp raises his hands to catch the ball. Eli Apple's right there, doesn't even make a move, doesn't try to jump, doesn't try to just watches him catch the ball. I was like, wow, at least Hilton, when Odell caught his touchdown, he had the hand in there, was trying to break it. Eli Apple just watched it happen. He was so out of position. He was trying just to recover, and he couldn't make a play. So Eli Apple, we could talk about every bad play he made, but let's just say he deserves all of the flack he got. Again, watching Inside the NFL today, it was so funny because Brandon Marshall tore him up.
Yeah.
He said that unequivocally, Eli Apple, it doesn't learn from his mistakes, and he deserves this because all he does is throw the smoke, but yet he can't take the smoke.
Right.
And he said that when he was on the Giants, Brandon Marshall used to try to help him and say, dude, if I'm dropping my shoulder this way, I'm showing you where I'm going. if I'm cutting into that route that Cup did, I'm gonna, where I'm gonna catch the ball. You know where the point is gonna be. And Brandon Marshall is like, dude, I try to help that dude, and he doesn't listen to people. And so whatever he's got coming to him, as far as like, the shelf life of an NFL player, especially a corner, isn't that long. And his is about run out. He's run his welcome out wherever he's been. He's been to the Giants. I think his name, because he was drafted so high, he's at the Giants, they get rid of him. He's at the Saints. Now the Bengals take him. I think this has got to be the end of the road, as Boys to Men once said. So yeah, he's a mess, man. But one of the things that we'll say about this outcome of the win is at least the Lions can hang a banner in the rafters and say the Lions banner says our old QB won a Super Bowl 2021-2022. Go Stafford, baby. I tell you, this one cracks me up. I don't know if you saw leading up to the game all the Detroit Rams stuff. And
no.
that was ridiculous. They started selling shirts in Detroit sporting goods stores with Detroit Rams, with the hybrid logo of the Lions in silver, blue and silver, with the Rams logo, because of Stafford going out there. Because this is as close as they've ever gotten to a Super Bowl. Is the guy, their quarterback from last year. I saw one guy crack me up. He was on TikTok. He goes, man, that Stafford's a really good player. Mm-hmm. Detroit should trade for him.
Man, you're down bad as a franchise when you're celebrating other teams' accomplishments. Yeah. That's down. That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad, man.
One guy said you go from One Pride, which is their normal logo, One Pride to Detroit Rams. Because it's pathetic. It's shameful to do that. It's like, to me, it's almost the equivalent, except the Patriots had a bunch of Super Bowls to fall back on. But it's almost equivalent of last year with all these Patriot fans jumping all over the Bucs just because Brady was there. I actually put a meme out, my own meme, saying, now you realize this, Patriots fans, you guys did not just win the Super Bowl again. That is the Buccaneers Super Bowl. That is not y'all's Super Bowl. But yet they 100%. Treat it that way because it's their old QB. I do have to point one thing about Stafford. They said that Stafford now has more wins against 10-win teams this season than he did in his entire 12-year career with Detroit. 12 years, 0 playoff wins in Detroit, and then 1 year in the Rams, and he's got a Super Bowl. Granted, his supporting cast with the Rams he had no supporting cast like that in Detroit. They did not invest in the team. Yeah. He was the final piece of the puzzle because Goff wasn't going to get it done, right? And they knew that. They needed somebody that has the experience, and they were looking for this exact guy. It's the whole reason the season started with him in L.A. So, yeah, crazy stuff. Another thing is good old Cooper Kupp. So just to talk about what he did this season, won the receiving Triple Crown, won the Offensive Player of the Year, won Super Bowl MVP. Jerry Rice is the only wide receiver in NFL history to do all of those things in an entire career, but Kupp did that in a single season. And this guy was out of Eastern Washington and had to fight and scrap his way to get to the NFL. And it's funny because I looked at the stats. Watching the game, I'm like, well, he didn't have that great a game to win Super Bowl MVP. Then you look at the stats, and he had 8 receptions for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, for most receivers, that's a pretty good day, but that's not Cooper Kupp numbers. We're used to these playoffs with he's scoring triple-digit receiving yards. Like we saw one of the games, I think it was the 49ers game, 142 yards receiving. Him and Beckham both were up over 100. So, this one was kind of on the low end, and I think the Bengals did a good job of containing him. Do you agree with Kupp being Super Bowl MVP, or is there anybody else that you might have given it to?
No, I didn't have any problem with that. I mean, especially when you catch the game-winning touchdown, you had a key 4th down where you went on the end around where you get the first down. That was key. It was key in that drive. I thought Kupp should have got it. I think if Stafford goes somewhere else with the ball, maybe Stafford gets it because you have 3 touchdowns, 1 to Odell, 1 to Kupp, and let's say Van Jefferson catches the 3rd one. Then I think Stafford gets it. But when you look at the numbers, 2 of your touchdowns are to Cooper Kupp, and you catch the game-winning touchdown, and you have the numbers to back it up. Yeah, I didn't have any problem with that. Odell, as far as the numbers, I mean, that's still a hell of a game. 8 catches, 92 yards. Man, that's still a hell of a game. 8 catches, period. Anything over 5 is like monstrous,
Right,
even though we're used to him. And particularly because they couldn't get the run game going. Because he probably would have had more receiving yards. I know that may sound crazy, but he would have probably had more receiving yards had they able been established to run at any point. They would have extended drives, then we probably would have seen those 140, 125 plus numbers that he's used to having, because they're used to having some success in the run game. They had no success in the run game. That was the biggest surprise to me throughout the whole game. Akers, they had 43 yards total, the Rams did, rushing, and Stafford had 6 of those. Cooper Kupp had 7 of those. So as far as the running backs, you got like 30-something yards, about 40 yards, about 30-something yards from the running backs combined.
Right.
So longest run was 8 yards, and that was from Cam Akers. So I think if I had no problems with Cooper Kupp getting it. What about you? You think he deserved it?
Yes and no. It was funny because watching the highlights back again, I saw Stafford talking to his daughters as they were in the middle of the field, and they were like, "Hey, we won the Super Bowl." He goes, "But you know what's even more important? We're going to Disney World tomorrow." And I'm like, "That's what the Super Bowl MVP does." So I think Stafford really thought he was going to get it. But the problem with Stafford getting it was the 2 picks. I mean, and one of them wasn't his fault, because when Beckham went out, they had the other receiver came in, Skowronek from Notre Dame, the rookie, and he was kind of a non-factor, 2 receptions for 12 yards. So you go from Odell to Skowronek, and he actually had the ball go through his hands from the second interception. So it wasn't really, Stafford's fault in the second INT, but he threw, 26 of 40 for 283 yards, which is pretty decent. He did lead the final drive, so you would think that it was Stafford. I think a lot of people thought that maybe Aaron Donald deserved a little bit of the nod because of that play in the second half. He was dominant, and without his play and complete, especially getting the pressure on Burrow at the end to force the incompletion, it's just really hard. I mean, unless you're somebody like Ray Lewis, it's really hard to give it to a defensive player. I do sometimes think that they deserve it, so I would have been okay either way. It had to have been one or the other. I think for the Rams, it was a team effort, but it had to be either Cooper Kupp or Aaron Donald.
I know this is not the popular pick, and this doesn't fit the narrative either. I thought Ernest Jones, if you were going to pick somebody, Ernest Jones had a way better game than Aaron Donald. But Aaron Donald is the guy. He's the narrative. He's what everybody's pumping. He had 4 tackles. I understand he had 2 sacks. He had 4 tackles. So 4 tackles. Ernest Jones had 4 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for a loss. And then you had Williams as well. Williams had 8 tackles, but only 3 of them were solo. But Jones had the most solo tackles. He had a key sack in this game. Now if you want to count that last, I think maybe folks are saying, well, this is the 3rd sack if you count the Burrow, but it wasn't registered as a sack.
It could have been, but Pirine was there, so they're not going to call grounding. It was past the line of scrimmage, and
so it wasn't registered as a sack. But you leave the game with 4 tackles. I'm probably need like a touchdown or a safety or something in there to give you that 4 tackles. That's come on. Anybody can go. Hargraves can go out there and get you 4 tackles. I'm just saying, I'm not downplaying Donald.
If he runs in off the bench, Hargrave. Are you talking about Javon Hargrave? I thought you were talking about Javon Hargrave. I thought you were talking about Vernon from the Bengals in his street clothes running in off the bench.
No. He's a clown for that, man. He's a clown. Anybody that. Yeah. I was just saying 4 tackles. I don't want to be a stickler of all things, but 4 tackles is not enough to go to Disney World.
Well, true. He was disruptive. I think that was the thing. It was not just the tag. He was disruptive on that line. They had to account for him all the time. He had to take a double team. But when all is said and done, Kupp had an outstanding game. He was there when Stafford needed him. Disappeared in the middle part of the game, but had a strong opening and a great closing. Part of that to me is due to the Bengals playing a lot of zone at the last drive. But Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp, and he had a great year. If he's not going to win the league MVP, then giving him the Super Bowl MVP is pretty awesome. So just to say congrats to the Rams, congrats to Von Miller getting another ring, Donald getting his first ring, Stafford getting a ring, Kupp, all these guys that deserve it. Beckham deserves it. He gets another ring. So you get a lot of guys that do deserve it. So no grudges held here. I would have preferred the Bengals to win. Yeah. But the Rams, they did what they had to do. So it was all in all, I tell you what, To end the season this way, it was like one of the best NFL seasons as a whole from start to finish. Eagles made the playoffs, so I have no complaints about that.
Mm-hmm.
The games each and every week were, like the Eagles season up and down, but they were great games all throughout the season. You didn't know going into these playoffs who were going to win. You had an idea, you had a Kansas City, Green Bay, you had Tennessee as the other top seed, but you didn't know. You had Dallas, and seeing them go out early was great, even with their high-powered offense. So
Yep.
it was an amazing season, and I have to say, the Super Bowl actually was the cherry on top for the entire season.
Yeah.
They, in my opinion, they didn't put a step wrong for the entire Super Bowl, except for maybe the officiating at the end. But the game was great, and the commercials. Let's talk about the commercials for a little bit.
Shit.
Holy crap! The commercials this year, after 3 or 4 years of just the work. We said this when Cash was in the guest.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that was so funny was I said I need another Terry Tate. I need another Terry Tate, and we get Gerard Mayo with the Hellman's
That's
commercial.
right.
And he down here in the corner, he texts friggin' Pete Davidson, and Pete Davidson says, "I get it. I know I'm hittable." And I'm like, I wanted another Terry Tate, and I got it, but it wasn't just that commercial. There was so many funny, great classic commercials, and these are just the ones I've got on screen. They're just the tip of the iceberg of what they had out there. The Schwarzenegger with the Zeus was one of my favorites. I mean, they had the little baby Pegasus that he'd take for a walk. He charged the guy's golf cart. The guy Fieri. It was good stuff. I loved Larry David doing the different inventions that he always gets wrong.
That was hilarious.
The guy says, I got this great thing called a fork. I got 10 forks right here, baby. It was probably, I actually, for once in many years of watching the Super Bowl, I didn't want to leave the room because they were that good, and they just kept coming and coming, and it was great to see. So take note, NFL and the advertisers that are out there. We don't need hour-long, commercials that speak a message. We don't need. We just want. We want some that are pull on your heartstrings, but mostly we want what we got, and we want some funny commercials that'll make us laugh and make us happy. I did like the one with the robot dog. That one. My son and I were watching the Super Bowl together and had to do the whole "I'm not crying, you're crying" deal because when the robot dog sees the electric car and he just wants the owner, and then his batteries die right before he gets to the guy's car. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, I don't remember.
It was so devastating. I was gutted. He's almost there, and he's like leaping into the guy's car, and his battery dies, and then his eyes close, and he's like dead. But then the owner sees him and takes his electric car and charges the dog, and then it becomes his new pet, and it's a happy ending. And I was like, oh man, I'm not crying, you're crying. But so many good commercials. The Paul Rudd, Seth Rogen, in the Sopranos thing, man. Did you have one that stood out for you as like your favorite?
Man.
So
the crazy thing I did, man, I should have wrote it down because, I probably, if we did it on Monday, I would have still had it at the top of my head, but but it was Valentine's Day, but, man, what, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but most of the commercials were pretty good. I thought they were really solid this year. The one that actually the one I remember the most is because it wasn't really even a commercial. It was the Coinbase one where they just put the VR code on the screen, and you had to kind of look at it, and I was like, Coinbase. Oh, okay, cool.
I didn't know what that was. People are still trying to figure that one out.
Actually, man, we had a local attorney do, because they do local spots as well.
Yeah.
So you probably got your, Ohio, Cincinnati based or whatever.
And they were horrible.
Man, we had one that was actually really good, man. These dudes from this law firm, Birch and something, it was hilarious. Like I thought it was, first I was like, what are they doing? But they did a good one. Basically, they kind of blurt themselves out like, our law firm is so good, we can't even tell you on this commercial type stuff. And but they bleeped it. It was like this father and son. They did it really good because we were like, it's a local commercial. It's a real commercial. It's local. Oh shit, so that was pretty cool. But most of them were good, man. I like the Doritos one. I thought that one was good.
Are we talking about the one with the sloth?
Yeah, with the
Oh
sloth.
God, that was good too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. There
Yeah,
wasn't.
it was a couple of them that were really, really, really good, man. I just don't remember a lot of them. A lot of crypto, a lot of
Oh, the
metaverse
yeah, a
type
lot of
stuff.
that, a lot of electronic car ones. But it
Yep.
was okay. It was all good. The E Trade baby's back. Got to mention that. That was funny. Where they come and pick him up in a helicopter, and I
I
told
missed
you.
that.
Oh yeah, you know remember the E Trade baby, right?
Oh,
That did all the
absolutely.
things to the curb. Yeah, they come in a chopper to pick him up, and he's like, "I told you I was retired." I told you I was
Yeah.
done. He's chopping wood in his backyard
Hmm.
like a superhero. It's good stuff,
Nah, they
man.
were good, man.
That
I
was the
got you.
thing was that we had a great NFL season, we had a great Super Bowl game, and then we had great commercials. And the only thing that would made it perfect is if we had a great halftime show.
Right,
And
right, right.
I'm telling you, I love this meme. If you're stoked about this halftime show, it's time to book your colonoscopy. Well, guess what,
Oh man.
people? Guess what? That's what. That's exactly what happened to yours truly
Oh
last
man.
week, right before the Super Bowl. And I was like, that one hits home.
Wow.
It's like,
Wow.
man, and it's true because these guys. I mean, this lineup was, it's our lineup, especially
Mhm.
Generation Xers. You know that we were young in the late '90s. We were in our 20s,
Mhm.
and now it's like to be able to see this group coming up. This is our time. It's like we don't see a lot of the classic artists like back in the day. We have the classic ones. Now, my favorite Super Bowl performance of all time is always going to be Prince because I think he
Absolutely. I
just
told Ish the
brought it.
same thing.
Yeah, it's always going to be the best. He just brought it. He just brought, and then the rain coming down, like he ordered it to play Purple Rain in the rain. It was amazing. But this one was a real close second because just from the moment it started,
Mhm.
and I was panicking because I was watching it with my son on in
Mhm.
VR, and
Oh, okay.
what I wanted so bad was get my earbuds going so I could listen to it in stereo and not just have the Oculus speakers.
Got you.
And I put my earbuds in and I killed my sound. And I don't know what I did. And so it starts and I'm freaking out. So I ended up whipping off the VR headset and just putting it on the TV so I could enjoy it. And so I didn't miss any of it, but I was mad that I did. I'm
Mhm.
like, why? Don't you hate when you do something stupid like that? You just want to make it better for yourself and you end up making it
Mhm.
worse.
Yeah,
So,
man.
but it was a pretty good halftime show. What do you think about
Um,
it?
oh man, I thought it was nostalgic, man. That was because all the songs they did were already classics. So it's kind of like these songs are tried and true. You play any of these at any party that appreciates hip hop and R&B, that's going to set it off. Dre doing his tune, everybody da 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 doom doom
Oh yeah.
doom. Everybody knows that beat, and then you have a lot of icons there. Prince, man, is still my all time. I told Ish that same thing I said to Ish, man. I said, Prince still in Miami.
Oh yeah.
I will never forget it. In Miami, it starts raining as he's doing like only Prince's energy can
Yeah.
summons the rain to come down. You have to just be that good, and just it's one of the best live performances I've um I've ever witnessed on television. Not in person, but man, it was incredible, man. But then probably Beyonce is probably my second one. I thought
Oh yeah.
Beyonce killed it when she did hers. She's just an incredible performer.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Moments like that are easy for her. But this one was real nostalgic, man. Especially when 50 Cent. I didn't even know 50 was going to be on there when he did
Oh
the
right,
whole.
right.
I was in high school when that song came out. I just remember being in the clubs in Philly at like 17 with my brother's ID, and
Well,
just being during this 50 Cent movement,
oh yeah.
and it was just crazy. I will never forget that, man. And he was upside down. It was nostalgic, man. Just everything about it was nostalgic. You're in LA, so you got Snoop, Dr.
Yeah.
Dre. You're
Oh
already
yeah.
winning. You're already winning. They're royalty there. You bring Mary J, R&B legend, bring Eminem, hip hop legend, you
Yep.
know. So you have legends there. But I thought when I actually took a step back, I was like, this was actually a celebration of Dr. Dre's greatness. This wasn't
Right.
even about necessarily the other artists. They represented LA artists. Now, obviously, they brought Mary and Snoop and 50 in from New York because Mary just needs her flowers, man. She's been on the scene, man. She's
Yeah.
synonymous with R&B. Growing
Oh
up,
yeah.
in the '90s, Mary J. Blige was it. Until
Yeah.
going into the 2000s, so she stood the test of time, man. And she's like the godmother of R&B. And you got godfathers, godmothers, just people on that stage, man, that couldn't miss if you tried, because it's already set in stone. And I thought Kendrick really killed it. That we gonna be all right. I thought that part was probably one of the dopest parts of the thing, because people kind of know that because that's a more recent song.
Right.
So you see they got the stadium rocking. Like, people like, I definitely know that one. We gonna be all right, So yeah, man. Shout out to the legends, man, for putting on a good halftime performance, man. For sure.
I know a lot of people are just like saying, "Can this group please go on tour, do like a mega tour, because we want more of this," and that's what's good. But it's funny you mentioned a 50 Cent's performance, because that brings us to our segment of the week.
Oh, we got 50 for the hell no.
So yeah. So for the hell to the no this week. Yeah, we're shooting out to 50 Cent because they got this classic meme upside down. 50 Cent waiting for his part in the halftime show. How long do you think he was upside down before they went to him?
Oh man, that's a good one.
That is good.
And I seen him getting fat shamed online.
Oh,
like,
that's
he's
true.
not as
That's
cut
true.
up as he was from the first time.
Yeah. No, well, now that you mention it.
Oh man.
Yeah, we got another one. This is another 50 Cent. What I love about this one is they got the 50 side by side, and you got the refs for the first 3.5 quarters is the old 50, and then versus the refs of the game on the line. That's what the difference between the two. Man. Oh, poor 50. But yeah,
that's 20 years apart, man. What's 20 years do?
Yeah,
a lot more money.
Well, I look a lot different than I did 20 years ago. I ain't saying nothing. And actually, I just thought I didn't actually think he looked bad. Once he got down off of being upside down, and he just looked like he's bulked up. He's still lifting. You could still say he's just a little thicker around the waist. Mary J was a little thick too, but she still looked good. And age hits us all.
Mary's in her 50s. Mary's like 52, 53.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing is like Snoop and Dre, they don't look any different.
They didn't age.
Eminem's got like a dark beard, but other than that, they're not. They're age.
And Snoop never changed.
Well.
Snoop just never.
The weed
changes.
is keeping him young. Keeps him young.
Hey, good for Snoop, man. Good for Snoop. He just always looks happy. Did you see the little clip that before he came out, he was sitting there smoking?
Oh,
right before he came out, some cameraman was dry snitching, like, look at Snoop. And Snoop, right before it started, he was just sitting there smoking before his part when he popped up. So,
wow, goodness gracious.
Man, that was good, man.
Good stuff. Well, let's transition out of to wrap up the Super Bowl. I mean, it was the trifecta. We had great game, great commercials, great halftime show. You couldn't ask for anything more. Probably one of the best Super Bowls I'll remember going back in history. Other than the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, this was one of the ones I had the most fun watching. And I didn't even have a Super Bowl party. It was just me and my son in VR watching it on big screen VR, which was awesome. It's nice to be able to hang out with him because he's in Oklahoma City. But before we go, let's just talk a little bit about the Eagles real quick, because this is a Eagles podcast. This came out. Darius Slade tweeted this right after the Super Bowl. This man is hungry. He's former Detroit Lion as well. And if we don't get this man a Super Bowl right now, he's telling we're in the lab right now. We're getting back in shape for the Eagles. I love that. I'd love to see him do that. He, like I say, he was with Stafford in Detroit, so that has to make him a little bit hungry to see Stafford get one, and he's still sitting without one. He's a talented corner, and we need him to take possession. My only worry about the Eagles coming up this season is Gannon. If Gannon and Sirianni don't learn from the mistakes of this past season and they can come back with that, just like Zach Taylor did in the Super Bowl, I'm going to play my game. I'm not going to adapt. I'm not going to change for my opponent. We won't go further than what we did this year. They've got to get better coaching on defense. A big play Slay plays well if you let him play, and not just only man coverage, but you let him play on the receiver. He makes plays on the ball. Same thing with Nelson, and we took that out of their hands, and we've said it all throughout the season, so I don't need to go through it again, but that's the one thing that I think is going to hold the Eagles back. That's why I wanted Gannon gone so bad. It doesn't mean you're going to get somebody better, but I think that we can get the best players out there. If that scheme is trash, it's gonna keep us. It's gonna hold us back ultimately. But it is what it is.
Man, I can't wait to do our pre-draft. I think I'm going to surprise you
Oh yeah,
with I think I'm going to surprise you with a lot of things. Just the direction of the Eagles as a whole, man, because those 3 first-round draft picks, sheesh, the Giants have 2 top 10 picks. I didn't know that. I didn't
right.
know that until
Yeah,
yesterday, and I said, "Wow, 2 top 10 picks." But these 3 draft picks, man, talk about building and getting the lab. Like I said, I don't know what I would rather. I don't want to get deep into it, but just going on the defensive side, man, I want to see if we can get Wilson. I know it sounds crazy, but I want to really start the season with. I know we got TJ Edwards; he's played phenomenal, but because I don't think McPherson's coming back. He was benched halfway through the season,
right, right.
and I don't really know who else we really have out there. So I'm just like, man, maybe we should try to make a splash in free agency because drafting a rookie linebacker, unless you draft like the guy, sometimes it's hard to get NFL ready linebackers right off the jump. So I think maybe we should go, pick one up. But anyway, we'll
Yeah,
get into
no,
that. We'll get
you
into
know
that
what?
when it's draft time.
Yeah,
Look
the
forward to the
draft is
draft, man.
starts April 28th. So what I figure we'll do is we'll come back a couple weeks prior to that. We'll set up a date
Okay.
and we'll hit a couple weeks before the draft because then there'll be some free agent moves. There'll be a lot more to talk about between now and then. Things kind of move slow after the Super Bowl, but then they start to pick up around draft time when moves start to be made. And I figure we'll hit up with a mock draft special to kind of talk. And I've been looking at some of the things too. I think that definitely the Eagles can get better having 3 first-round picks, but then they also have like 2 or 3 in the third as well. They're flooded with a wealth of picks. Now, will they, before we have our pre-draft special, will they package some of those picks and try to get one of the 3 free agent quarterbacks out there? Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers is now being
I forgot about
talked about.
packaging for that. Yeah.
They're talking about Aaron Rodgers now, and Russell Wilson is being in the mix for the Eagles and for other teams as well.
100%.
So yeah, it's hard to say if the Eagles will go after one of those guys with those picks. I would prefer to us use our picks and build the team back up with a lot of youth, so that we can get back under the salary cap. So then when we want a free agent, that we can afford them to go out and get one that will be like the Rams did with Stafford and bring him in to be that final piece. But I ultimately don't run the team. I wish I could.
Everybody likes Jimmy G. Why don't we bring old Jimmy G in?
Oh no. I'm good.
I'll just play it. Never.
But I tell you what, speaking of quarterbacks, somebody that will be on the market again, and this is crazy. I don't know if you've seen this story, is that there is a belief our former QB and the Colts' current QB, Carson Wentz, will probably, quote unquote, be traded or released before March 19th. That's when the $15 million in base salary becomes guaranteed. And the rest of the tweet says his future in Indianapolis looks bleak. This is crazy stuff. And we're just lucky to be able to get a first-round pick out of the Colts for this guy because he did not have a great year. Jonathan Taylor dominated that team and made him a winning team. And when the chips were down and Carson had to perform, he didn't do it. He didn't get the job done. And it was consistent week after week. He just did not get the job done. I love the guy personally. I would have loved to have seen him had some success in Indy. I thought he would under Frank Reich, but it's not happening. And they just don't want to pay him $15 million after the season he had. So somebody's going to pick him up. He will have another shot, but it's crazy to think that he's one and done in Indy. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, man. What do you think? Carson still has something left in the tank. I just think, I will say this: the Colts fans didn't kill him until the last game of the season. Most of the year they kind of let him live, because Jonathan Taylor was. But towards the end of the season, especially those last 2 games, they really got on him. Then somebody in the front office kind of aired him out as well too. I think they said Irsay didn't have really glowing remarks about him, but at least they did it after the season. That's what I'm big on.
Right.
If you're gonna hammer somebody, you can't do it while they're playing for you and expect great. It's kind of like coming to the office every day, like yelling at your subordinates and expecting them to or critiquing them, just overly critiquing them every single day and expecting them to do well. Eventually, somebody's going to snap or they're going to leave the area, leave the section, get transferred or whatever, just due to harassments, man. But I think Wentz still has a lot in the tank, man. he'll still be around. But the fact that if they cut him, then where do you go? Where do you go from here? Quarterbacks do not grow on trees, man. You could not like your quarterback. That's one thing. But thinking you just this is one thing that just cracks me up about just NFL fans in general. Like just thinking that you just pick up anybody off the street is
Right.
so far fetched, man. It is. They don't grow on trees, man.
No,
They don't,
no.
man. So Wentz is going to be a starter somewhere. I don't see why he's not. If he is, I would love to see who's in front of him. Wherever Garoppolo goes, I'm sure he'll start. Garoppolo may end up with the Texans if Deshaun Watson thing. You don't know where he's going to end up
Right.
at. It's a lot of noise with Russell Wilson. Dougie P has a number one pick. What do you think he's going to do with that pick down in Jacksonville? He has a number one pick.
If he's smart, he'll go with Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan just to get that pass rush going. Because he's got the quarterback. He can get wide receivers. They need a running back as well, but I don't know we'll have to talk more about the draft as that come. But yeah. Aiden Hutchinson is a difference maker on the line. He's that Aaron Donald type player that can really disrupt. And you want to build a cornerstone of your defense around a great end rusher. And I'm biased because I'm a Michigan fan, but I watched the guy tear it up at Michigan all year long. He had people hearing footsteps in their sleep. He's a terror. So I think that's probably with Dougie P. But I can't speak. You don't know Dougie P. And you really don't. It's like with Howie Roseman. When everything looks like it's clear and this is where you should go, they go out of left field. That's the tough thing about mock drafts is that you can go with logically who the best scouted players are, and you can put together a mock draft. When the draft actually starts, these GMs, man, they do some crazy stuff sometimes. And I'm not just talking about Howie. I'm talking about a lot of the GMs in the league. They go out of left field so many times because they see something in a guy that we have not even heard of or barely seen and take them a pick higher than they should or a round higher than they should have. So who knows? But we'll definitely have fun talking about it when we get up to it. But yeah, it's crazy to think that Carson, I think you're right. There are opportunities for him to be a starter somewhere, but I don't know. I don't think he'll go to Jacksonville. Dougie P's not going to take him on because he's got Trevor Lawrence.
Of course
he's not going to go to Chicago. They've got Justin Fields. They've got, like I said, 49ers have got Trey Lance. So if Russell goes
can
somewhere,
go to Detroit.
You know what? Possibly. Goff, I don't think Goff is going to be there long. I think Goff is in that backup territory. Goff is just okay. And it's kind of weird that if he were on the same team and they were drafted the same year, but hey, stranger things have happened. So I don't know.
He can, I don't want to belabor it. He can go to Detroit. They're talking about having some rumors going around with oh my goodness, the Arizona quarterback.
Oh, Kyler
Murray. They're going through a little rift down there.
Yeah,
I'm
I heard
not going to
about
put
that.
that off just yet. He can go. He can go to Tennessee. Why not? He can go play quarterback at Tennessee. He can go to Pittsburgh and be the quarterback for the
definitely. There's an opening there. There's
he
some
can go.
spots.
This is not going to be. They're probably not going to give up on him just yet, but he can go down to Miami if they're not high on Tua.
Yeah, he go to Washington.
Niners don't have what the Niners already drafted their back. We'll see what happens with that. I'm just trying to think of all the, he
go
can
to
go
Washington.
to the Texans. He can go to Washington.
Heineke and what's his name?
He can go to the Saints if Jameis isn't. It's so many ways you can go, man. There's a lot of teams out there that need somebody that can play quarterback. Carson Wentz can play quarterback.
Yeah, he's adequate enough. And the thing for me, I think that's hurt him is after the injury, he's not really had that individual to help him get over that. He still has a problem now with taking hits and leaving the pocket and using his athletic ability. When he played for us that 2017 season, he seemed like he was fearless. He was confident and he was fearless and decisive. That was the key thing. He was decisive with the ball. And he ran up a lot of victories, was on course for MVP season. Since that time of that injury against the Rams, he's never been the same type of player.
That's true.
That whole season he came back, it kind of rushed him back onto the field. He didn't look right the whole season. Everybody knew it. Gets hurt again. Then we get him back. He gets hurt again. And it's like, okay, we're done. And he's just not, I don't know if he'll ever, it kind of reminds me, like, say, RG3. We've talked about it. where RG3 had that injury, and then he was never the same afterwards, and kept going. And he went to the Ravens and played pretty decent, but he was never the same RG3 that we knew for those couple of years when he first came in the league before he got hurt. And it's just a sad way things happen for quarterbacks. Is it's such a mental position to play that it can really hurt you if you gets into your head like that, or the fear of being injured. It changes their whole outlook of the game. So we'll see what happens. But just for all our fans out there, that let you know that those who listen to the podcast, we will be doing a draft special mid-April before the draft, which is April 28th. So our final segment tonight, we're going to wrap up the pick standings. I almost don't even want to do this because I led the picks throughout most of the year, but they're all said and done. When it's all said and done, after the Super Bowl, Tim Case ended up winning it with a 260-point advantage. Second place was Darren Muir. I lost second place as well during the playoffs. The Bengals killed me. I picked against them the entire playoffs, and I lost every time. So my fault for not trusting in the Bengals. Picked them for the Super Bowl, lost that pick as well, but ended up holding on to at least third place because of a tiebreaker. So that third place went to me. The fourth was Jay Schultz. After that, we had Jay Berry, Dustin Schmidt at 40, tied at fifth. And then breaking just even, we had Doc Going, a friend out in Colorado. So it was a good season. I mean, I started out well. I mean, I show the pick standings every week. I was up there near the top. I just crumpled like a cheap suit at the end of the season. I just couldn't pick right. I actually had a really good final week of the season, and I was solidified in first. It was the playoffs being so unpredictable. So I don't have any regrets because I tried to pick the playoffs like a normal NFL season where the favorites always cover, the home team always wins, and that just wasn't the situation in these playoffs. It was exciting. We had a lot of upsets. We had a lot of teams we didn't expect to be there. We had a team in the Super Bowl that no one expected to be there, and then played great within 3 points of winning the damn thing, and had the lead and could have won it. So congrats to both teams. I mean, I'm happy for the Bengals and the Rams. Good time, good season. So I don't know what you think about this season as a whole. Did it just how are your feelings on it?
It was an incredible season, man. Just fast. The Eagles making the playoffs, made it better, especially after starting 2-5. It helped the podcast. We were projecting. winning. We weren't just down in the dumps. And I told Eve, I was like, man, this is probably one of the first Super Bowl Sundays in a long time that I'm just calm. Like if Brady is playing, I'm always like, oh, I hope Brady don't win another one. And it just kind of makes me uneasy. If it's somebody in there that I'm not rooting for, I kind of just start rooting harder for the other team. But I really didn't care who won this game. I bet on the Bengals. I should have bet with the spread like my instincts told me to. I just took them straight up because the money was good. But, man, towards the start of that game, man, they kept putting a lot of money on the Rams. So I just wish I would have. That's my only regret is that I wish I would have took the Bengals 4.5. But it's a hell of a game. We don't know. We may see the Bengals back, or we may not. They still went 10-7 with this team. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get better. I know it sounds crazy, but you never know, man. You never know. Beautiful season.
It's so hard to get back to the Super Bowl. I mean, look at the Eagles. It's not an easy thing. Maybe for Tom Brady and the Patriots, those dynasties come around. But other than that, if you look over the history of the NFL, it's very tough. I watched that documentary on the 49ers and Joe Montana. And, when you think about the 49ers, you think about, oh, man, they were always in the Super Bowl like every year in the 80s. No, they weren't. He won his first Super Bowl that he played in the Silverdome against the Bengals. And then it was another, like a gap between that. And if you watch that documentary, you see he was always fighting to get back there. Always fighting to get back there. There was always something that got in his way. The Giants were a little bit better than the 49ers one year. The Cowboys a little bit better than the 49ers. So they always had these things stand in his way. And then toward the end of the 80s, they ends up winning 2 back-to-back. So he gets his 4. But still, I mean, if you haven't seen the Joe Montana documentary, I think it's on Peacock. It's definitely worth a look because you see, it's not easy to get to the next Super Bowl.
And to your point, he won 2 Super Bowls before he had Rice.
Exactly.
And then Rice, and it wasn't all, man, we are in a microwave society. Everything needs to be quick. But if you watch any quarterback, progressions, a lot of them sucked. Some,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Montana was good because he won a national championship in Notre Dame. Everybody knew who this guy was. He didn't just bust onto the scene. Did he win the Heisman as well at Notre Dame?
I don't think so. I watched the documentary. I don't remember them saying he won the Heisman. I do know that he did win the national championship there. He was if you watch the documentary, we think of Montana as this, up there level quarterback, the GOAT before
Like Marino
Brady.
type. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the GOAT before Brady was the GOAT. And then you watch the documentary and you realize that just like all of us in life, we always have people trying to keep us down. And Joe Montana was no different. Everywhere he went, nobody believed in him. And he had to fight to become the starter at every team he played for. So it's a very fascinating documentary.
Yeah,
and then when he wins 2 Super Bowls, what do? They go out and trade for Steve Young. And Montana's in his prime. And they bring another rooster in the hen house because no one believed in him. They still didn't believe in him because they're afraid of injuries. They're afraid that he just didn't have it. It was crazy. I only recommend to watch the documentary. You'll never look at Joe Montana the same way again. That's all I'll say about that. So it was good. And it was a great Super Bowl. And it was a great, great season for us on the Where Eagles Dare podcast. We've been having a really good time this season. I'm glad it was your idea to continue with the playoffs and just see it through, because now it seems like there's a finale to our final season. We could have just ended it with the Eagles being out. But I think that every season we'll try to keep doing it all the way through the playoffs no matter what happens. So it's good. We'll be back again in April, like I said, with a pre-draft special. We're maybe line up some guests for that. That'll be a lot of fun. And do some mock drafts and just kind of go around and talk about who we think the first round will be. And then we'll talk about who we think the Eagles picks are going to be. So thank you all for joining us this season on the Where Eagles Dare podcast. We're so glad to have you. Whether you've been listening to us on Audible or Spotify, Apple Music, we appreciate it. Whether you've been watching us on the live streams on Facebook Live, YouTube, or Twitch, thank you so much for coming each and every week or watching the replays on the live stream. We're really grateful. All we want to do is talk about the Eagles and talk about football, and we get an opportunity to do that through this medium now, the way technology is today, to be able to, 2 regular guys to be able to talk about this stuff and find people that want to listen to us, which is pretty good. So with that being said, if you want to send us any comments about the season or suggestions for next season, you can email us. Again, our email address is that's lee.bird, byrd.eaglesdare@gmail.com. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Tubby for his final words.
Hey, man, appreciate y'all rocking with us this season. It's been a pleasure. Shout out to Cash for being on the podcast last week. And, it's just been an amazing season, man. It was dope doing it with you, man. It was dope. The only person I could have did an Eagles podcast with, So with that said, man, hell of a season. We'll see y'all back here for the draft, pre-draft, what have you, and post-draft. And with that said, man, it's always fly, Eagles, fly.
And go Birds. Take it easy, everybody. We'll see you soon.